Hi everybody, it's Julie, and in this video I am going to be assembling a milk carton gift box that has this icicle frame window and a little scene inside. And the file is available in my shop if you're interested. I'm hoping that I don't ramble because I have a hard time talking and making at the same time. And if I go silent, it's like I'm still here. I just, the multitasking thing is hard for me. So I tend to go silent while I'm crafting. So anyway, I'm not ignoring. All right, let's get started. You are going to need some supplies. Besides having your pieces all cut, I've already pre-cut these. I'm just showing the assembly in this video. So I've got all of this ready to go. And you may find a Cricut Joy mat is a nice sticky mat to work on for holding things in place. I often use tweezers. I have two pairs that I swear by. This one, which is angled and helps for gripping tiny things. And then these are crosslock tweezers, which I like to use when I'm tying things like twine, because it's kind of like having someone else with another pair of hands holding something for me when I tie a bow. I also use pop dots for this project. You could use these shapes that I actually did include in the file, and they're little like props that you can fold to put against the background. They're like pop-up supports. So you could use these if you want, but I find it's just a lot easier to work with foam, self-adhesive foam dots. But if you want to, you can use these little guys. They're in the file. And you can change their size and everything. But these guys are so much easier to work with when assembling a 3D item. I also like working with the Barely Art Precision Glue. I have some floss threaders which help for bringing twine through tiny holes, because I always end up fraying the twine before I can get it through. And of course, this is some of my favorite twine. I like to work with this cotton baker's twine for tying things off. And I also have some really strong Be Creative tape or Sukwang tape. Sometimes it's called score tape, but it's a really strong double-sided tape. I'll have links down in the description below, but I really recommend using this strong tape when you're putting boxes together, because I've used other tapes and they end up, my box just falls apart. So I want something that has an iron grip, so that's why I recommend this tape. It comes in a whole bunch of different widths, and I may occasionally use tape runner when I'm putting some. It just kind of depends on what I'm doing as to which adhesive I'm going to reach for. So hopefully I won't ramble while I'm doing this. And if I go silent, I'm not ignoring you. I just have a hard time talking and doing at the same time. Okay? One of my quirks. All right, let's get going. So the first thing I like to do is to get everything creased along the score lines. So I'll get those all folded, and I do have a trick for getting deeper score lines using the Cricut Maker and the stylus. So I will leave a link to that video in the description so that you can check that out. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get all of these folded, and I'm just going to follow those score lines. The tricky part is doing these diagonal folds. I like to actually come behind them and kind of crease them like that with my fingers, just kind of gently mold them, because you want to make sure you're not like creasing on the diagonal down here, because you only need it within that particular area. But this is how we're going to get them to collapse on the inside when we put the box together. And then this will fold to the outside. Okay, so basically this is what the box looks like. And here you can see where those fold lines are going to collapse in on each other right there when the box is fully assembled and you need to tie it shut. So that's what those crease lines there at the diagonal are for, and how they should be folded. So hopefully that gives you a good view. And then I'm going to get this baby folded. Oops, don't lose that. Okay, this one, I've flipped it over. These two on the sides, these long ones, are going to flip to the back, as will these. And then we're going to take this outer flap. That's going to flip to the back, and this one too. Now, these two inner folds right here are actually going, there's one here and there's one here. So hopefully you can see that score line there. I'm going to flip it that way and then back just to reinforce that. All right, so when this is fully folded the way it should be, you're going to end up with a shape that resembles this. And I also need to fold the acetate window, and I used the Cricut acetate for this because I find it's very crystal clear. And the other thing I like about the way they package it is there's a thin protective film on each side of this. And I actually forgot about that when I ran it through my Cricut, and then I was like, how come this is not really crystal clear? And then I realized, oh, I forgot to take the liner off. So I didn't have any trouble cutting it with the liners still on both sides, but some people prefer to remove it, I guess. And I also used the scoring stylus to get my score lines on there, and that seemed to work just fine. So I would say that if you want to keep the protective liner on, you probably will be just fine. So if you've already removed the liners and then you went ahead and cut it, when you go to crease the fold lines and use like a bone folder to crease those, you could run the risk of scratching the acetate surface. So what I would recommend doing at that point without a protective liner is just to take a piece of maybe typing paper and put that over the top, and then you can use your stylus to burnish down on that to get a nice crisp fold without scratching the acetate. But mine's still on there, so I don't need to worry about that. I'm just going to go ahead and crease that really nice. And then I'm ready to start gluing stuff together. I need to get the background glued on there, and I just cut this from craft cardstock. And I don't think I need to get real crazy with any glue. I'm just going to put some of that on there. That works okay. Line that up. So that's going to create my snowfall background. And then I need to assemble these pieces here. And that is going to require working, well, for me anyway, I'm going to need to work on a mat. Otherwise, things don't stay where I want them to stay. And I'm going to put that right there for now. Maybe I'll put this one here. So the first thing I need to do is get the little house. I like using a little sticky mat. Make sure you're putting glue on the proper backside. And I'm going to pull this down a little bit lower so I can see what I'm doing. It's hard when you're not looking directly overhead. My smoke is cut from vellum because I really like how that looks transparent there. So I'm just going to set that there, get glue on the roof part. Well, that's going to be a little tricky. Let's get under, curl it a little bit so we can get a hold of it. I'm going to use my tweezers to kind of squidgy that out. Okay, that's kind of a lot of glue, so I am going to take my tweezers and kind of squeegee some of that off. I have a baby wipe that I keep handy for things like that, so if I get too crazy with the glue, I just use my tweezers and a baby wipe to clean them off. That's better. It's going to slide a little bit. That's one nice thing about working with the Barely Arts glue is, it does take a little bit of time to set up. So let's see if I can get that. I want to pop this out, so I'm going to grab some of these 3D pop dots. Let's see, I'm going to double pop them. So that's how that's going to get mounted in here. And I may even double up on these little tiny ones behind the trees. So you can see how far that's going to kind of pop out. And I want to make sure that that edge is aligned with the background edge right there so that it lays nice and flush right there. So wish me luck. Don't push down until you're sure you've got it right where you want it. So don't push down too hard or too firmly. Sometimes I have to hold it out in front of me. So I want to pop this one up too. It's going to get mounted on this, but I don't want it to be popped out quite as far as these guys were. So I'm going to just use one layer of these little ones. And then I've got one more to get mounted on there. So that's looking pretty good. All right, the next thing I need to do is I need to put some double-sided sticky tape along all of these flaps out here. Not here and not here. These outer flaps all need some double-sided sticky tape on them. Okay, just so you can see where I've got all of my double-sided sticky tape. None on here, but on these outer flaps. And now we can start putting the box together. So now's probably the time to take these liners off because you do not want to have your thing be foggy. So the trick is getting this lined up over this, and the bottom edge here needs to line up with the bottom edge here. So it may help to, create this box shape. This one here kind of holds it up. So I'm going to pull this liner partially just so I can get things lined up and started. And once I have those lined up straight, I can pull away the rest of that liner paper. And there you can see how that is going to fold in, and all of these sides are going to get secured. And I like to use a little bulldog clip to kind of hold this down, keep it in place. It's like having another hand holding that together. Okay, so now I can go over here to the side of the box and get this tape removed. Now, normally I use 1/4" tape on this, but I'm getting low, so I'm using my 1/2" because I have it. And here's that little side tab right there. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the adhesive. So at this point, I've got the bottom edge sealed. I've got the sides and the little tabbies on the sides all done. And the last that remains is the top part of the box. But if you want to turn this into a shaker, now is the time to do that because this is still open. And you can put all your filler and stuff in there that you want, and then you can seal this shut. Now, I don't recommend using super fine glitter because there still are a little bit of cracks and things that fine glitter would fall out. But if you have really chunky glitter or sequins, they would probably work fantastic for this. Or maybe something like buffalo snow, which is kind of fluffy and chunky that you could put in there to fluff around inside the box. But I'm just going to leave it like this. I really just like the 3D scene. So what I'm going to focus on now is just getting this part closed. So that's what it looks like from that side. And this is what it looks like from the other side. This is going to get seated right in here. And you do want to make sure that the top is at the top. So here's the top of the box. Here's the top. Top's going to go down there. If you need to, you can take a pencil and mark it with a T or something, or a pen or something, because nobody's going to see it. So I'll just mark it with a T so I know that's the top. So the next thing I need to do is get adhesive here and along the sides for this box to get mounted to. Let's get the top or the bottom, either one. And there you can see how it's showing in the window there. All right, now we need to get the side flaps. And I forgot to put adhesive tape right here, which is what I need to join these pieces together here. So this, I'm really worried that this might have some overhang because it's a 1/2 inch wide. So I'm going to run some 1/4 inch. Where'd my 1/4 inch roll go? And I'll actually put it on this side since I've neglected to put it on this side, but normally I would put it on that flap. And all I need to do now is just join these pieces right here. Once I've got that end tacked down, I can just slowly work my way up to the other end. Okay, now you can see where those gussets are going to crease. The box is fully closed on the inside. Okay, and we can seal up the bottom by closing these flaps, and I'm going to put some adhesive down here. And you can use, stuff like this, strong tape, or you can use this stuff once it sets up is actually pretty good. So
and if you want to, you can even put adhesive on this one so it'll stick to the flaps to make that strong too. Okay, so let's do that one first.
And now the box is ready to be closed or filled with goodies first, of course, and then you'll go ahead and collapse these inward, and you can go ahead and send your twine through there. So this is where those floss threaders come in handy, because I cannot get something like this. Some people use a needle, you know, if you got like a darning needle or something like that, but I work with tiny twines all the time, and so I find that. Okay, so pretend that we've stuffed this and there's something heavy enough inside to keep it from shifting around on the work surface. But anyway, that goes through like that. Then we'll send it through on the others. Hello. The other side. There we go. We don't need this anymore. I just save them back in their little container till I need them again. They're pretty cheap, nice little tool. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's just going to hold those shut so I can make a nice tight bow. So once I have the length adjusted there, I can go ahead and tie that. And then to hold it tight, I will use these crosslock tweezers because they will clamp when you release them. Like I said, pretend this is not, it's got something heavy inside it, so it's not squirreling away from me on my work surface. Okay, so there we go. And then I'm going to slip those tweezers out, make a few adjustments to the bow, and then I can flip these out of my way. You can use clothespins or whatever works to keep it shut. And then go ahead and get rid of that. And I usually tie knots in the end of my twines so they don't fray. I don't know why. Something I've always done. But isn't that cute? Oh, I love how it turned out. It's darling. All right. I hope that gave you some guidance on putting one of these together. They're actually pretty easy. Once you get one done, then the others are going to be like bam, 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 bam. And especially if you're not talking at the same time you're doing it. Thanks for watching.